in the hands of the noob, and we know he's got to do support for that team. Here we go again for our second game, and it's best of 2, and all right, we'll just deal with that now.
Nova are so targeted. I love it. They say no thanks, Denalians. We know what you're like on Tulin, and we never want to play into it.
Yeah, and more importantly, in my opinion, no early game for you. As long as we can make this game go longer, as long as we have more statistical points in the game to where we can dominate you.
Now tell me if I'm wrong, but this feels very telling right now. That what we're looking at is what we saw in the first game. We're seeing Nova being targeted, and we're seeing Cream, it feels to me, just going for the big names.
Yeah, and it's a losing battle, because if Cream spend all their bans as they are on the big, powerful characters, they cannot get them all, and they get no target bans, which means Nova then walk into the first pick and they say, oh, look at all the powerful characters you've left on the cards. Get their pick of the litter, and they've target banned 3 choices.
Well, this is a change. They do go for the teamy, which I certainly agree with, and that was one of the major problems. But look what they just opened up. Richter goes first to Nova.
Yeah, but they get a Sephora in response. Cream have more options than previously, and getting Denalians a powerful character is very, very good.
Right, this is already looking really good here for Cream, because they have Sephora, and they're putting the Sephora into the Richter, who is a very powerful dive character. Now, I want to see what they follow up with. Are they going to commit to the poke? Are they going to commit to just shutting down this Richter? And I'm also curious to see what Nova goes with in order to counter that Sephora. Did they go for even more poke, or do they try to outplay them with more dive?
Nova like to keep themselves lightweight, and that's why they're doubling down. Instead of getting a beefy frontline, they get the Annette for the CC, for the stuns, to slow down the fight and guarantee opportunities for the Telenas to work out the damage from the side lane.
Telenas, one of the major heroes that is a pain in the neck if you are Sephora, because Sephora, you want to have your Tide of Life go off when they dive you to force them in a compromising position. If you just poke them from afar, then you're using it in a bad spot.
But I like this answer to Telenas. Telenas is what we call a sustained marksman, relying on consistent damage over the course of a team fight. If the Violet can burn down the Telenas in one good burst, that answers them then and there.
And on the other side, Nova are going with the Murad once more, and that allows them to burn them down.
They're all squishy, Daniel.
Yep.
Everyone on Nova Esports is a squishy, lightweight damage character. This means Cream actually have a really good composition and response. They've got burst damage from the Violet, and then they'll now get the Ybeneth to answer. Ybeneth is almost unkillable for the duration of his Nature's Realm. If he can spend that perfectly, and you can see the defense behind it from the Violet, from the Sephora, that is a perfect Fortress composition.
I think this game might come down to Murad this time. Last game, they didn't really need him. He just kind of was an extra.
The toll is due.
Last time, it was just a frosting on the top of the cake, but this time, I think we're going to have to see something from him, because even though he dives, TJ, even though he dives, he's actually kind of a poke hero. He jumps in, uses Temporal Turbulence, comes back. If you can consistently do that to Sephora and to the Violet, then they have this game.
I think this looks much better for Cream Esports, though. I really like the improvements they made to the draft, and they followed through what I said, which is this is them drafting for their strengths as opposed to trying to work around Nova.
And you can't always be on the back foot, can you? You can't always be thinking, oh, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Let's try and stop them playing their game. Best results typically come from you playing your game. Yeah. So we have a different matchup, a very exciting matchup here. This Poseidon against Denalian's Scrap in mid is going to feature this time, different scraps. Sephiroth, for one thing, is on the other side. So now we're going to see if Nova know what to do when they're facing her as well as when they're using her.
The funny thing about that matchup is that Sephora is such a team-oriented hero that it ends up not really being a 1v1. You want to punish that, but I really like the choice here by Poseidon going with the Liliana because she's so versatile, right? You can target the Sephora, or you can target someone else in the team. She's just going to be good in all manner of situations.
I think the power of the Sephora, though, is that they win almost into any burst character, and all the popular mages right now are burst damage focused. If you go in for the full combo as the Liliana, spend Ties of Life on the Sephora, you're invulnerable for the duration, then you can come back and win out the sustained game.
I trust Poseidon to not make that mistake.
I'm still favoring Denalians in the skill matchup. I think he can step up.
Yeah, and you want to see that, don't you? Because Denalians, we'd mentioned this before the game, but we'll just mention it again before we get into the second round. Denalians, we know he's a really good player. This is his opportunity to perform at the top level now, which he's not had. We've seen him be great in contests. He just hasn't been picked up for something like this. So here we are, Valor Series, day one. Denalians gets a chance to show us, can he do it at this stage?
It's a rough stage to stand on. Hey, welcome to the Valor Series. It's the best team in Europe. Good luck.
I mean, yeah, you're going to prove yourself.
But
gotta prove yourself
Come
somehow.
on. Yeah.
like you say, I think if they can step up here, if this is a good performance for Denalians, well, they've set the table nicely.
And remember, this is just the first day of an 8-week season, and we're playing every Saturday and every Sunday. There are loads of games in this season. These 6 teams are all going to face each other in best-of-2s, double round robin system as well. We're going to be bringing you all of these games. They've got plenty of time, but it doesn't mean you can lose your first match, your first best-of-2, and not care about it. There's plenty of time to pick up from later on, though. It's going to be the second round of this best-of-2. Nova Sports, Esports, Cream Sports, Cream Esports. Let's go onto the battlefield, and let's see if we can make this 1-1 or whether Nova are going to dominate the first day.
Nova Sports, actually, a very successful bowling team.
Well, how do you know these things?
Cream in the mid lane want to start things off on the right foot. You can see Denalians leveraging the power of already the Sephora to win lane against Poseidon.
Yeah, early game, the Sephora actually wins that, even though she's not the greatest early game here. Just has that nice range to outdo the Liliana in the situation, but that might not matter here.
I'd like to keep an eye on the noob for exactly this reason, and so do they. He'll Redwood rush away. I think the noob could be the key to this game, but not if Denalians leaves his protection behind, diving far in, but they kept the brawl going. The noob very low. Coco will dive in. His retaliation finds first blood.
He's under pressure now, though, as Hawk comes in. He gets scared away, and Oxy got extremely low, but able to get out of there in time.
That was a very messy fight for Cream. The noob, like you said, being forced to overextend, and Vex has shown up like a crack in frost.
Oh, that beautiful wind cuffs on Denalians nearly took him down, but gets away.
Such a good setup, using the Annette for the stuns so that the AoE punish can come through.
The Spirit Sentinel doesn't get leashed here, which means that it looks like Nova's going to be able to take it, and Vex is just being a nuisance already with those temporal turbulence.
Did Vex just use that temporal turbulence to get 2 minions at once?
Yeah, it's just, you use it whenever you can. That is one of the shortest cooldowns in the game, TJ.
It's beautiful. Talented will have to play back in the top lane after some initial poke elsewhere on the map. Cream Esports are having to play defensive after that first blood.
And they can't afford to play defensively. They need to match the rotations here from Nova. They need to continue to play aggressively, and they're getting pushed around again. This is not good for them.
I'd like to go back to what I was talking about, though, and we did see a bit of it. The noob doing a very good job on the front lines. Yes, he had to overextend. Yes, he was the first blood. But you could see already the power of Bennett, even without ult, to slow down these fights, live through the brawls. Never mind. 1v4, you can't live through that.
You know, sometimes players like to prove you right, and sometimes they like to prove you wrong, TJ. Sorry it had happened to you.
Well, I mean, 1v4.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to go 1v4, even as Yevoneth. Oh, Coco.
What are you doing here? Does Frost know? No, he does not.
Oh, no.
Coco with the jungle strike will do a massive amount of damage, and Frost is about to drift back from tower. There's the mark of the Hunter, but he's underneath tower. Retaliation will keep him alive, and he's just been Kaizen back. Frost with brilliant reflexes will get the opening kill, but it's all a distraction for Nova, because they split across the rest of the map and get a tower down bottom.
That was one of the first major blunders we've seen from Nova. Not sure why Coco took so long to go for that kill, but certainly pays for it.
It felt weird because if he'd waited a bit longer, Frost almost certainly would have gone back towards him.
Yeah, it was at the exact wrong time. It was it was both too late and too early somehow.
I think he saw the reinforcements coming from the Omen up the lane and felt he just had to go in.
Just take a nap. Go back to base.
Yeah. Either way, it didn't work out. Cream do get a kill back, but Nova with 2 more now have a 3-1 lead.
And Grizzly Q going from Teamy to this, and that has been amazing so far as well, landing wind cuffs left and right. He is just showing how good he is on multiple supports here.
Top lane, talented, does have the wave clear necessary to stabilize, but this has kind of been Nova's bread and butter, threatening across the map, showing off their macro. The thing we kind of questioned coming into the series, it's been good so far.
Absolutely, to the tune of a 2,000 gold lead, no less. Just completely running them around in circles. And Cream, just they can't get anything going. They just can't get a footing in this game.
And the noob should be the player doing this. We talked about the noob as kind of the tanky engaged frontline, but he's been killed so many times during the opening that he's not functioning in that role. He cannot be the scout.
Well, the thing is, he is really good against preventing people from engaging on your team. Something like a Jinnar, he prevents that. But
yeah,
there's just dashes. They have dashes from Vex. Poseidon doesn't need to go in, but he has dashes as well. Oxy can fight from afar. Coco has dashes. I don't know what the purpose of the Yevoneth is here in this game, TJ.
Feels like you just ignored him.
Just like, I'm a big girl, I can take it.
Yeah. A little bit unfortunate that that's exactly how far ahead Grizzly Q has gotten. Certainly one of the best supports in Europe. We saw it last game. We may see it again here.
And Ring of the Fiend is being built here by Grizzly Q, which means they're going to be zooming around the map, TJ.
Oh, might be caught out. Needs to use some of that zoom right now to get away, but he'll just dive in with the Hurricane Wall, disrupting Aliens and ensuring the kill comes through. The noob spends his support ult as well, and Grizzly Q might well have overextended. He'll get shut down, but that is the only kill back in favor of Cream.
Grizzly Q saying, I will trade my support life for one of your major characters. That is a trade I am willing to take here, and certainly goes for it. That is the sign of a good support.
Especially because we've hung so much of Cream's success on Aliens, not just as their star player, but as their mid laner against Poseidon.
Right, and he is unable to get that kill because of the help that came out from Grizzly Q, serving up them on a platter.
Top lane is the shift in focus now for Nova. They've already taken bot tower, so that means they're insured Abyssal. So long as they can distract Cream Esports, that's what they do by forcing Talented to play defense.
I want to talk about the Violet build here from Frost, going with a rank breaker, which means she's going to be targeting the squishier heroes. Usually you want to go for the Muramasa for the front line, but this time we just wants to chunk them down.
Full team fight marked in. Mark of the Hunter onto the noob with the Hurricane Ball, but he gets the Nature's Realm off. The lifesteal, it's immense, and it almost turns it round.
That shows how tanky Yevoneth can be, how annoying that can be, but unable to fully bait them in. And oh no, it's an Aliens. I told you before the game, TJ. Telenos just absolutely demolishes Sephiroth because she can poke for days.
There's a big circle from the Eagle Eye, and if you stand in it, if Oxy is level 9, you will die.
You will not survive through that one, and they take another tower.
Frost, though, has just been power farming this whole time. You're talking about the Violet build. Do you think that's a mark of hope?
Well, she's been farming, but still not the highest.
That was a deep intake of breath.
Yeah, sorry. She needs to be farmed much more than this, and they're getting even farther behind with this Abyssal Dragon being taken. The thing is, sure, she's been farming, but we haven't seen Vex on the map at all. Vex actually has more gold, and Vex is going to be able to jump onto the Frost in the backline pretty soon here and start being a nuisance.
It's very hard to play a fortress composition, a composition protecting your backline damage source, if the player who's most likely to dive can do so without full committing, as Vex demonstrates.
Exactly.
Right on cue.
They have all the tools. This is the same thing as game number 1, playing out over again. They have the backline marksman to take out the front line. They have Vex on Murat to just jump into the backline. They have everything to deal with Cream, and Cream has no answers.
Not yet, but I still hold faith.
How many towers are going to go down before they come back here, TJ?
I'll give them 2 more, then the game turns around.
Okay.
Here's the tower, one of those 2. Hot, tacked down by the blinding light, does get the wave clear. No tower to fall.
That was a beautiful Wailing Blade. Got multiple members low, but already Grizzly Q just healing him right back up with a Net's passive there.
And Nova, ever the split push kings, managed to get a tower for free on the other side of the map. Aliens, though, looks for poke, does find Poseidon with the Wailing Bladed. Spectral Ire, it's Oxy annihilated by Hot. They've got Grizzly Q pinned down as well. There's the water wall, a stun through, and he's got, making it a double kill for Hot in the bottom lane.
One of the few times that we've seen Grizzly Q slightly slip up there. He wasn't able to save Oxy or his own life, and Cream finally takes advantage, but they are continuing to hurt there. I don't believe they're going to be able to convert this into any objectives, which means they still are behind.
But every kill matters, Daniel. And Cream Esports have just worked back a little bit of gold, particularly killing Oxy, taking him off the map for a while. That does make a difference. Is Hot their best hope now?
Very well could be, because of the range of that Naginata Jutsu and that Wailing Blade to be able to set up people on a platter, but unfortunately, it's only been that 2 kills so far.
We were actually talking about that earlier today. You were saying you almost consider Ryoma a ranged character.
Yeah, absolutely. All of his abilities are extremely long range, but speaking of long range, Coco's a long way from home.
Oh, he dukes them! He slides back through the bushes, and they miss him. Death's Beckon, Death's Embrace will land. Coco burned down.
Well, while all that's happening, the aggression comes up from Nova. They know they can't save him.
Oh,
So they
Warhawk.
go the other side of the
Oh my goodness. Pinwheel, Hurricane Wall for the stun though. He's in a lot of trouble and he will go down. Now actually the push can come through. Oh, but they cleared way. This is a gamble from Cream.
They're potentially able to get the Dark Slayer, but at the cost of a high ground tower. Is that going to be worth it? Not if the Aliens dies.
Aliens does stay alive and it will be no more than a high ground tower. Dark Slayer comes through. I spoke too soon. Another tower picked up by Poseidon.
Base trading, my favorite form of Arena of Valor. But at the end of the day, Nova says, you take some, I take some, but I'm going to take a bit more, get the high ground and the Abyssal.
Yeah, I think they were prepared to trade a high ground. They were not prepared to trade a high ground and an Abyssal, because now with the buff in the hands of Nova, you cannot take a team fight.
And look at the situation here. Cream is not in the position to take advantage of structural damage, right? They have 3 towers on their side. Nova has 8 towers, TJ. They're not going to be in danger at all from this Drake.
No, that's kind of a devastating sign, I think, for Cream, because they needed that Drake to mean so much more than it will.
Well, it looks like both teams are not in the position to be fighting. So I'm going to talk about the Telenos build here from Oxy. If you go for the ball slot, oh, never mind, I spoke too soon. Maybe some action up here on top.
I don't think Grizzly Q will be too interested in it, but bring him back off as Nova group down bottom.
They just want some action, DJ. those wind cuffs.
Oh my goodness, Vex is completely
Hello?
sidelined the entire fight. He says, I'll just poke down the tower. And I don't think they can stop this tower from falling. They'll try and summon the Drake. Oh, it's alive, technically.
Telenos can just take that out with no minions. Oh, or Vex. That works too.
Vex loses a lot of his HP for it, but
Dark
he was
Blessing?
sure it was going to be his.
Yeah, his Dark Blessing is fine hot. Oh no!
Barely survives, the noob in trouble, can't even get the ult off. He's burned down. Now the tower's in trouble as Vex dives past it. Frost knocked down to a sliver of HP. 1 high ground remains.
Drake down, Nova, they have them on the ropes! Oh my god!
Hello, Vex. Welcome to Season 3. He's got to kill behind the tower, and they've got the final high ground to fall. Vex dives in. It's 2 more kills. Only talented left. He's down as well. A complete team wipe. All high ground's gone, and Nova with the first 2-0 of the Valor Series Season 3.
Good night there, Nova, to Cream Esports. They controlled that game. The Telenos Murad combo working to perfection. Nothing they could do from Cream.
That was absolutely gross, and well, you did say it.
Yeah.
This was the game where we would get to see Vex, and I think that's a mark in favor of Cream. They made it go long enough that Vex needed to work out a little bit, stretch his muscles, but he did.
A 2-0 to our reigning Valor Series champions for Europe. Congratulations to Nova, commiserations to Cream, but something to build upon there, definitely. We talked about how they got into this this series by being in this 7-way scrap for 6th place. After the 2 qualifiers that we had, 7 teams were tied on for 6th place on points, so we had a single elimination bracket to sort them out. Cream won that, deserving to be here, and I think we can expect them to put up a decent fight. Remember, the top 4 from every region of Europe, Latin America, and North America, and those regions are coming up very soon. The top 4 of each of these regions go to our playoff finals. Cream will be looking to be one of those 4. Everybody wants to be. Cream have got a chance of being one of those 4.
I cannot stress this enough.
There we go.
That was a really good performance against Nova Esports. Nova do that to everyone. And the fact that Cream, in both games, were able to get kills, were able to make the game actually a serious game that Nova had to work on, is a very good sign, especially for the 6th place team, the team that should have struggled the most into the World or into the EU champions.
Am I just going to be the wet blanket here?
Yes.
Okay, go on, give us some wet blanket.
Because Nova just looked unstoppable. They had so much margin for error. They had the late game both games, which means as they were building their lead, they were building a more massive lead than even you could tell on the gold or even tower screen, because they should have been falling behind early.
You were also saying how squishy they are.
Right,
When
but
we're looking at that draft, you're like, Nova are really squishy here, but they can damage a lot.
well, that's how Nova likes to play. They have so much skill on all of the players that they can dance around you with all these squishy heroes, and that allows them to just basically control the game.
And we definitely saw that here, particularly in the early game. This is where Frost should have been able to step up, but for the second game in a row, it felt like Frost was unable to bring his tremendous burst damage to bear on the characters that needed to receive it the most.
Right, he needed to be in there more often than not. This is one of the major blunders from Coco here. One of the sad spots, for Nova, but that was the only thing that Frost had going for him.
That was a solid oof, but it was quickly turned around as Coco dived in, and I'd like to highlight Grizzly Q, who consistently started off these fights or interrupted these fights with a sick little hurricane wall.
Yeah, consistently giving his life to make sure that his team was able to farm up, able to get those kills, and that worked so well for them in the end. You give up a lowly Annette to help your team out. This wasn't the greatest, perhaps a little bit late with the hurricane wall, but other than that, great play from Grizzly Q.
Strong showing for Hot, but, well, it was quickly overshadowed, and if there's one player we have to talk about from Nova, it is, of course, Oxy, who both games here just dominated.
Yes, so much damage coming from the backline here. This was just unfair at the end. And, oh my god, this got run over.
And you can see that in the stat line as well. 31% of the team's damage on Oxy.
Yeah, two really good, strong performances on Telanets from Oxionos. Vex, we were saying this Vex tax, that's a thing. Well, we've got something interesting to keep our eye on as we go through the series with Oxy now.
The toll came due. This was the second game. This was the game that went a little bit longer, and we saw Vex manage to show up towards the end of it. When the Murad came online in the late game, it was causing some trouble behind the high ground towers.
So why did he take longer to come into this game than he did in the first one?
Because Murad is a late game character. You want your Murad to be out ahead, and you want your Murad to be significantly out ahead. That typically only happens when they've just been focusing on farm for the entire game.
Right.
It's also a hero that performs better when not only you have a lot of gold, but a lot of map advantage as well. Because as they're stuck in their base, you can use your opponent's monsters against them, get those stacks up, jump in there with Temporal Turbulence, and they can't even defend their towers because they just can't stand in that space to defend them.
It's just that Vex got first blood in the first game, so his Murad was working for him quickly, but I guess that was Cream warming up.
That first blood was weird on a lot of levels.
Okay. Denalians, alongside Talented and the Noob, not getting any kills in that game at all.
No, rough game for Denalians. A lot of emphasis on mid from Nova Esports. It felt like just bullied him from moment one.
He was overstressed because he needed to be the support because the Noob kept getting caught out. Look at their nominal supports, right? Noob dies 4 times, so now only Denalians can save his team. He dies 3 times. They're taking the hit for their team, but their team was the one, I think, not showing up. I think Frost needs to step it up, even though it looks good on the stat screen.
We're talking about a lot of people's failings. Just briefly, Oxy closes that game 6-1-3. That is worth mentioning.
It's beautiful. 1 death over 2 games.
Isn't shy either, making herself busy all over the map. So, Nova go 2-0 up in the Valor Series for EU. And remember, we're doing a whole load of games across the other regions, so don't go anywhere because they're coming up. But before we put EU to bed, at least just for today, because we're back again tomorrow, D2's #1, or star player if you wish, if you're D2 and want to call it star player, but for this side of the desk, we're calling it D2's #1.
You know, I think you wanted to pick Oxy, but I'm going with Grizzly Q.
Ah, well, that's a good shout. I think that's a good shout for Grizzly Q.